Right, strap yourselves in, folks, because this deep dive is going to be a wild one. You guys sent in a ton of stuff, articles and tweets, even some financial data. Looks like you're as captivated by Elon Musk as, well, everyone else.
And it seems like your interest goes way beyond just electric cars and rocket ships, huh? You've included a lot about Dogecoin and, of course, his very public feud with Jackson Palmer, one of the cryptocurrency's co-founders.
Exactly. And you know me, I live for a good tech world drama.
Especially one where someone gets called a grifter, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, Palmer certainly didn't hold back, did he? Calling Musk out for not knowing how to code even.
Really?
Yeah, he even shared a story about Musk asking him, how do I run this Python script?
Wow. On the surface, that kind of seems like a rookie question for a so-called tech genius, doesn't it?
Yeah, you'd think the guy sending rockets to space could handle a simple Python script.
Right.
Yeah, but it's not quite that simple. While coding is obviously a super important skill in tech, success in the tech world relies on a lot more than just that.
Okay, so maybe Musk isn't writing code in the trenches every day, but he's the one with the big ideas, the visionary, right?
That's the narrative he's definitely cultivated, and you can't argue it's worked pretty well for him so far. But Palmer's accusations do raise an interesting question. Is Musk's genius more about delegation and hype than technical prowess?
So are we saying Musk's success is all smoke and mirrors?
I wouldn't go that far. It's definitely more nuanced than that. Let's take Tesla's full self-driving, for example. Musk's been promising this like right around the corner for years, painting a picture of a future where cars drive themselves, there are no accidents, traffic jams are a thing of the past.
Yeah, sounds pretty utopian.
But in reality, well, things are a lot messier, aren't they? Tesla's autopilot system, the one that's supposed to be the precursor to full self-driving, it's been involved in, well, a lot of crashes, actually. And right now, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration is even investigating it.
And, then there's that whole phantom braking thing that keeps happening,
Right.
where the car just slams on the brakes for no reason. Apparently because Tesla decided to ditch radar and just use cameras for the whole self-driving system.
Right, and that's a pretty controversial move, even within, like, the autonomous vehicle world. Some people say it's a step backwards in terms of safety, while others think it's, well, a necessary gamble to really get to actual full self-driving.
So is Musk prioritizing innovation over safety? Or is this just a case of a visionary pushing boundaries, even if there are some, let's say, bumps along the way?
I think this is where that grifter or gifted debate really gets interesting. On the one hand, you could say that Musk is taking calculated risks to develop a tech that could revolutionize transportation.
And maybe even save lives in the process.
Exactly. But on the other, you could also argue that he's playing a little too fast and loose with safety, that he's overselling capabilities just to hype things up and boost Tesla's stock price.
So where does the truth lie? I mean, is Musk really trying to make the world a better place? Or is he just a really, really good showman who's figured out how to sell a vision, even if it's not quite, reality yet?
That's the question we're here to try and answer. And to do that, we kind of have to look beyond the headlines and dig into the specifics. His actions, his motivations, and the real impact his ventures are having.
And speaking of actions and motivations, well, we can't just ignore Musk's adventures in the world of politics, can we?
Definitely not, especially that whole $1 million a day giveaway to voters in swing states who support the First and Second Amendments.
Yeah, I think that's what you call raising eyebrows.
For sure.
Is that philanthropy? Or trying to buy influence?
That's a question that legal and ethics experts are still debating,
Yeah.
But legality aside, I think it really points to a larger trend we're seeing. Silicon Valley guys like Musk, they're starting to get a lot more active in politics, and a lot of times aligning with, well, right-wing ideology.
It's interesting because we've seen this with others too. Peter Thiel, J.D. Vance, Mark Andreessen, Ben Horowitz.
Yep, it's a pretty big list.
What's driving this shift to the right, with all these tech giants?
It's complicated. Lots of factors involved. Some people argue it's all about self-interest, economics, just trying to protect their own wealth and their own influence.
So aligning with the party most likely to give them tax breaks and less regulation.
Right. Others say there's like a genuine ideological shift happening, that they're getting disillusioned with the Democrats and they're starting to like conservative values more.
It's definitely fascinating and kind of concerning at the same time. You've got all this wealth and power concentrated in the hands of just a few people who are actively trying to reshape the political landscape. It really makes you wonder about the future of democracy, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And it adds another layer of complexity to figuring out Elon Musk. Is he trying to manipulate the system for his own gain, Or is he really trying to advance a set of principles that he thinks will benefit everyone?
It's a tough one. No easy answers. But to get a little closer to the truth, let's dive into some specifics, starting with that coding controversy you mentioned.
Yeah, let's unpack that Python script drama. So Musk responded to Palmer's accusations on Twitter by saying his kids could code better at 12 years old.
Oh, okay.
And Palmer, of course, fired right back, pointing out that Musk never actually wrote a single line of Dogecoin code himself.
Like, high-stakes Twitter feud, but the future of technology is hanging in the balance.
Yeah, and then to make things even more interesting, Billy Markus, the other Dogecoin co-founder, he chimed in and admitted that he himself only wrote like 20 lines of code for the whole thing.
Wait, so the creators of Dogecoin, this cryptocurrency that's worth billions, they're saying they barely wrote any code for it.
It's true. And this is where things get really, really interesting, because it kind of throws a wrench in the idea that technical expertise is the only thing that determines success in tech.
So maybe coding skills aren't the end-all be-all.
Exactly. This episode, this isn't just about whether Musk knows how to code. This is about like understanding that whole mix of vision, marketing, delegation, and yeah, maybe even some manipulation that goes into building a tech empire.
Which brings us back to Tesla's full self-driving. Musk's been promising this revolutionary technology for years, but is he really the one leading the charge toward this safer, more automated future? Or is he selling us a dream that's, well, still pretty far off?
Okay, let's look at the evidence. Tesla's autopilot system, the stepping stone of full self-driving, it's been plagued with issues. The phantom braking we talked about, multiple investigations by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
And some experts even say that Tesla getting rid of radar and just using cameras is actually making things less safe.
It's definitely a risk, and it makes you wonder about Musk's priorities. Is innovation really more important than safety to him? Or is he just like willing to accept a higher level of risk to try and develop a technology that could really change everything?
To answer those questions, I think we need to look at specific cases with Tesla's autopilot, and that's exactly what we'll do in the next part of our deep dive, so stay tuned. So we were talking about autopilot and all the issues surrounding it. You sent in some pretty detailed reports on some specific incidents.
Yeah, there is one that really stands out. A crash in Texas back in 2021. A Tesla Model S, supposedly running on autopilot, ran off the road, hit a tree, and caught fire. Both people inside died.
That's awful.
Yeah.
So was autopilot to blame?
Well, that's what investigators were trying to figure out.
Right.
And it turned out to be a pretty complicated investigation. Tesla said autopilot wasn't even on.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And others thought maybe the driver had misused the system somehow.
So lots of finger pointing and nobody really knows for sure.
Yeah, pretty much. And this is where things get tricky, ethically speaking, with self-driving tech. When something like this happens, who's responsible? The driver, Tesla. The people who wrote the software.
It's a legal and philosophical nightmare waiting to happen. And as these self-driving systems become more common, these questions are just going to get tougher and tougher.
Exactly. And it's not just about who to blame after an accident either. It's about how these systems are designed and implemented in the first place. Is safety really the top priority? Or is it all about rushing to market, being the first one out there, even if it means cutting corners?
You know, Musk has always said that Tesla's goal is to make driving safer by taking human error out of the equation. But is that really what's driving his self-driving ambitions? Or is it more about, shaking up the car industry, revolutionizing transportation, cementing his legacy as this tech visionary?
I don't think those things have to be mutually exclusive. It's possible that Musk is driven by both. I mean, he could want to make things safer and be at the forefront of innovation at the same time.
Yeah, that's true. But we have to consider, are those two things always going to be aligned? Because when you're dealing with technology that can potentially save lives or take them, the stakes are about as high as they can get.
Absolutely. And this goes back to the whole grifter or gifted question and the role that hype and marketing play in Musk's success.
He's definitely a master at generating buzz, at getting people excited and capturing their imaginations. I mean, just look at Tesla and SpaceX, even his weirder projects like Neuralink and the Boring Company.
Musk has this incredible ability to turn really complex technology into captivating stories.
Yeah.
He's not just selling products, he's selling a vision of the future. And that vision, plus that whole larger-than-life personality, it's drawn in tons of followers who really believe in what he's doing.
But do they have a good reason to believe in him? Or are they just caught up in this carefully constructed illusion, blinded by the promise of a future that might never actually happen?
That's the question, isn't it? And to answer it, we really need to separate the substance from the spectacle. We need to look past the flashy presentations, the bold claims, and focus on the actual track record of his companies.
Okay, so let's do that. Let's talk about Dogecoin. You know that meme-based cryptocurrency, the one that was started as a joke? It blew up in value, and a lot of that was thanks to Elon Musk's tweets.
Oh, yeah, that's a fascinating case study. Really shows you the power of social media, celebrity influence, and just how irrational markets can be.
Musk has even said, straight up, that he's manipulated Dogecoin's price with his tweets. I mean, is that the sign of a visionary
Wow.
or a manipulator?
It's a fine line. I mean, on the one hand, you could say he's just messing around, having some fun with how ridiculous the crypto market can be.
He calls himself the Doge father.
Exactly. But on the other hand, you could say he's taking advantage of his huge platform to exploit his followers for his own personal gain.
Especially since so many people, a lot of them brand new to crypto, jumped on the Dogecoin bandwagon because of Musk and ended up losing money.
Right. That's the danger of buying into the hype. It's something we all need to be aware of when we're looking at anything Musk says, whether it's about self-driving cars, colonizing Mars, the future of crypto, anything.
So how do we tell the hype from the reality? How do we figure out if Musk is a real innovator, pushing the boundaries of what's possible, or just a really clever marketer who's figured out how to run a good con?
It's tough, but I think one way is to just focus on what he's actually doing instead of what he's saying. Is there real progress being made towards his big goals? What are the actual consequences, the real world effects of his companies?
And speaking of actions and consequences, we haven't really talked much about Musk's political activities besides that $1 million a day thing.
Right, and that was just one example of how he's getting more and more involved in politics. He's been a pretty vocal critic of, as he calls it, woke culture, and he's aligning himself with people who feel threatened by, like, social progress and diversity.
He's compared using pronouns to a mind virus, and he's even said he supports people like Ron DeSantis, who's pretty well known for his conservative stance on social issues.
Yeah, and the shift to the right has some people wondering if Musk's vision of the future really includes things like inclusivity and equality.
It's a valid concern. If he really wants to build a better future for everyone, that future has to include everyone, right? No matter their background, their beliefs, their identity.
Exactly, and that brings us back to that core question. Grifter, or gifted, is Musk's vision of the future one that benefits all of humanity? Or is it mostly about what's good for him and a select few?
That's a question we'll keep digging into in the last part of our deep dive, so stick with us. Okay, so we've talked about the coding thing, Tesla's self-driving situation, the Dogecoin craziness, and even Musk's political views.
It's like trying to put a puzzle together, but the pieces just don't quite fit.
Exactly. That's what makes him so interesting.
Yeah, he's hard to put in a box. He's always doing the unexpected, always keeps us guessing.
And that's what makes this deep dive so tricky, but so interesting. Because it makes us think about our own biases, our own ideas about success, what it means to be a leader today.
I agree. So after all this, where do you stand? Grifter or gifted? What about Elon Musk?
Man, that is the question, isn't it?
That's a tough one.
He really is.
I think there's evidence to support both sides, honestly. I mean, he's obviously brilliant. He thinks big. He pushes boundaries. And he's given us some incredible things. Electric cars, reusable rockets.
Right. No one can argue with that.
But there's also that undeniable hype factor.
Definitely.
Like he's overselling things, putting speed and disruption ahead of being careful and thoughtful.
And that's where the grifter idea comes in.
Yeah.
Sometimes it feels like he's more interested in the story than actually delivering.
Yeah, and that's a problem, especially when you're dealing with technologies that can have such a huge impact on our lives.
So, force for good or a danger to the future?
Too early to tell, I think. We'll have to see what his legacy turns out to be, but one thing's for sure. He's not going away anytime soon. He's going to keep grabbing our attention, sparking debates, and challenging our ideas about what's possible in tech and beyond.
Well said. I think that's a great place to wrap things up. We've really dug into Elon Musk, from those coding skills, or lack thereof, to his self-driving dreams, his political moves, his, well, meme lord side, everything.
It's been quite the journey.
It really has. And I hope this deep dive has given you listening out there a better understanding of this complicated and controversial guy. In the end, it's up to you to decide if he's a grifter or gifted, but I think we can all agree that Elon Musk is a force to be reckoned with, for better or worse.
Yeah, I'd say so.
So keep those questions coming, keep exploring, and keep sending in those deep dive requests. Until next time.
Stay curious.